You wrote an article for The Atlantic entitled, quote, your words, not mine, America's judiciary doesn't look like America. And you criticized this committee and President Trump for his judicial nominees. You said, quote, these are your words, not mine. The judiciary crafted over the past 4 years does not look like America. Not one of these judges is black, and more than 90% were raised or currently identify as Christians. I don't know how you knew that. And then you say, quote, your words, not mine. Identity is the lens that filters everything and everyone we encounter, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
Again, I don't know because I don't have the article in front of me.
I do. I got it right.
Explosive accountability takes center stage in this unforgettable Senate confirmation hearing as senator. John Kennedy delivers a masterclass in oversight. In a tense exchange with a Democratic judicial nominee who previously criticized President Donald Trump and his judicial appointments, Kennedy methodically exposes contradictions, using nothing but the nominee's own published words. The central issue was bigger than politics. It was about judicial philosophy. Should federal judges interpret the Constitution as written, or should they filter cases through identity politics and evolving social ideologies? Kennedy pressed the nominee on her statement that identity is the lens that filters everything and everyone we encounter. He challenged her criticism that the judiciary under President Trump did not look like America, and he questioned whether judges should ever participate in protests while serving on the bench. At every turn, it can be focused on one principle: impartial justice. Take a look.
We have a long list of your articles and your opinions and your political statements. On March 8, 2017, you wrote an article for Time magazine while you were a sitting judge. It's entitled, Judge, Gender Laws Are at Odds with Science. I'm going to quote your words. When legislators blur the lines of church and state and enact laws that permit or prohibit conduct based on biological gender as only male or female, they place an impossible burden on the judiciary, end quote. Did I read that accurately?
I do not know because I don't have the article in front of me.
Well, I do. On October 13, 2020, while you were serving as a state judge, you wrote an article for The Atlantic entitled, quote, your words, not mine, America's judiciary doesn't look like America. And you criticized this committee and President Trump for his judicial nominees. You said, quote, these are your words, not mine. The judiciary crafted over the past 4 years does not look like America. Not one of these judges is black, and more than 90% were raised or currently identify as Christians. I don't know how you knew that. And then you say, quote, your words, not mine. Identity is the lens that filters everything and everyone we encounter, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
Again, I don't know because I don't have the article in front of me.
I do. I got it right here. You wrote another article on July 31, 2020 for the San Francisco Daily Journal, in which you advocate for the right of sitting judges to be able to go to protests, didn't you? This is what you say. No judge should be ethical, your words, not mine. You just said you didn't say them. You turned these articles over. No judge should be ethically constrained from speaking or taking action that reinforces that constitutional and moral imperative. May judges participate in demonstrations that denounce racism, support equal justice, and reinforce our constitutional rights to free speech and peaceable assembly? Yes. End quote. Did I read that correctly?
I don't know because I don't have the article in front of me.
If you're a federal judge, are you going to go to protests?
I would like to answer the substance of the underlying question that was asked.
I'd like you to answer my question. I've only got another minute or so. If you're a federal, let me put it another way. Have you ever gone to a protest, a public protest, while you're a sitting judge?
Senator Kennedy, the article that you are referring to
Have you ever
was
gone
written...
to a protest while you're a sitting judge?
I do not believe that I have ever attended a protest as a sitting judge, or perhaps ever.
When the hearing came to a close, one thing was unmistakable. Senator John Kennedy had done exactly what the Constitution expects of a United States senator. He did not speculate. He did not exaggerate. He did not rely on anonymous claims or partisan talking points. He relied on the nominee's own published words. In an era where confirmation, hearings often dissolve into rehearsed speeches and evasive answers, Kennedy insisted on clarity. When the nominee attempted to distance herself from her writings in the Atlantic and other publications, he calmly read them back verbatim. When she deflected, he refocused. When she hesitated, he pressed for precision. That is not hostility. That is oversight. The larger issue was never personal. It was about the integrity of the federal bench. Lifetime judicial appointments shape the nation for decades. They determine how laws are interpreted, how rights are protected, and how the Constitution is applied. Kennedy's line of questioning underscored a simple but powerful principle. Judges must interpret the law, not reinvent it through ideology or identity frameworks. Supporters of constitutional restraint saw in this moment a senator, unwilling to rubber stamp, unwilling to accept vague assurances, and unwilling to ignore documented statements that raise legitimate concerns. Kennedy demonstrated that accountability does not require theatrics. It requires preparation, discipline, and courage. In the end, the hearing became more than a clash between two individuals. It became a reminder that confirmation hearings are not formalities. They are safeguards, and in this case, Kennedy made it clear that the American people deserve judges who approach the bench with neutrality, fidelity to the Constitution, and transparency about their judicial philosophy. For many watching, this was not just a political exchange. It was a defining example of what principled accountability looks like in action.